Hey everyone, Margarita here again. I want to talk in this video today about the decades of delusions going around about me, around town, within numerous different police departments, and amongst family members and friends, and neighbors probably. The biggest one I'm going to speak about in this video, it's going to be one specific delusion that's been going on, being passed around all over about me for at least 4 years that I know of. It could have been going on longer than that. But the delusion is the fact that I own a gun and have a mental disorder, and that I've threatened my mom and or my dad with my gun, have threatened their lives with my gun. That is not real. None of that has ever happened. Those are 100% delusions. First of all, I've never been diagnosed with a mental disorder. Second of all, yes, I do own a gun. It's my constitutional right to own a gun. Third, I'm somebody who attracts stalkers very easily. I have had at least 15 to 20 very serious stalking situations in the past 20 years or so. And what the reason for that is the lifestyle that I live, what I look like, the way I make my money, the amounts of money that I generate, and how I go about my life attracts quite a bit of jealousy and envy from numerous different directions. So there is many different, these are separate situations that have gone on over the course of time. So yes, in my situation, a gun is needed to be owned. Not only that, I live in this big ass house by myself with my young child while being permanently injured and chronically sick. So I don't know why someone thinks that there is something illegal about any of that, because none of that's ever been real. My gun has never come anywhere near my parents' home. I don't go anywhere near my parents' home, and I've certainly never threatened anybody in their household with a gun, or even mentioned anything about my gun to either one of my parents, other than the fact that my dad knew that I own one and I carry it with me to work. That is the only information that was ever given to either one of them about me ever owning a gun. So I'm not sure how long this delusion has been being passed around with all these family members, friends, neighbors, the different police departments and such. What I do know is that there is a statement within the Brownstown, Michigan Police Department's records that state, this is almost 4 years ago, so this happened in October of 2021. It states that the caller is stating that their daughter is mentally unstable with a gun and they need police assistance at their house because I own this gun and I'm mentally unstable and that I've threatened them with it before. None of that's ever been real. So it's very hard to decipher with the document that I have where that is written, if that is actually my mother calling the police department and stating that, or if it was my dad doing it. And if it was my dad, it would be my mother who's repeating delusions to my dad while they're alone, and then he spits them out of his mouth. I do have numerous sets of proof where that is what has been going on for quite some time. So if it was coming out of my dad's mouth in that specific phone call, it was her repeating it to him, getting him to place the phone call to the police department. Now, again, none of that's ever been real. If you know anything about me, I'm extremely busy. I've been building success from the ground up from the time I was a teenager. While I have this deranged lunatic and an entire group of high-level officials who she has bribed, and they have participated in the crimes against me with her in destroying my life from behind the scenes, creating chaos and destruction from behind the scenes in my life for decades. So while I have all of that going on and my life is completely separate from all of these individuals, that makes no sense. I would not be engaged in any type of behavior like that. I'm chronically sick, permanently injured. I spent about 3.5 years fighting for my life. I've spent the last 9 years permanently injured and sick, and extremely injured and sick for the last 7.5 years. During all of that time, at no time would I have had any time to engage in that type of bullshit behavior when I'm over here building success separately and trying to pick up the pieces from all of the fallout of all of the ongoing crimes, and more crimes are being continued to be committed against me in the meantime while I'm still picking up the pieces of the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sets of crimes. At no time would I be engaging in anything like that. I don't have time for that. I'm a real ass bitch. Let me tell you that right now. I don't play games. I don't fuck around. I don't go out of my way to create problems for people. I don't go off over here because I just have all this free time and show up at this person's house and that person's house. And no time in my life have I ever had time to do that. So the personality that she has painted me to have and the behavior types that she has painted me to have, none of that has ever been real. Now, I don't know how long this has been being said about me. The paper that I have regarding that, it's from October 2021. I don't know if my mother was saying that to people way prior to that, or if it started around that time period, or how many times she's reported this, because I'm assuming with what I've experienced in my waking life and the harassment, that it's not just Brownstown. I do believe she has called my city, Flat Rock Police, and has called and told them the same thing as well. And so I don't know how long she's been telling this to her family members either. I do know, because I've heard from numerous different family members, that that's what was said about me. On top of that, I have crossed paths with numerous different family members. None of these people, I've never had regular contact with any of these people. Anything these people know about me, they've received their information from the deranged lunatic who makes up the delusions about me and spreads the false narrative and has been growing it for decades. That is where they get their information from. These people do not get their information about me directly from me. There is no contact. So I can say that there's been several instances where these family members have arrived at wherever I was, we're crossing paths, and they start screaming my mother's delusions at me. And I can only assume, based on what they're screaming at me and their behaviors toward me, that they must have been told something about me threatening them with one or both of them with a gun or something along those lines, because there would be no reason for any of these people to have this type of reaction toward me, and to just have that behavior toward me in general when I've done nothing to any of these people. None of these people are a regular part of my life. We crossed paths very briefly, very minimally over the course of my lifetime. They get their information directly from my mother. So especially with my mom's sister, Yolanda, and her daughter, Rita, they had arrived at the hospital after my dad had his injury in January 2023. And those delusions were being screamed at me during that time. You can tell she was very mad, as if I had really done something when I actually have done nothing. So that tells me that that's probably what she was told. And she chased me from my dad's hospital room the day after his surgery, the day after his injury. And I was the one there taking care of him for the first 15 months. And I was the one that was there for 4 days. My mother had no intention of coming home from California. I was the one there with him the whole time. I packed a bag when I left my house in Ohio, and I just did not go back home because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was going to happen. And then the longer I stayed gone and stayed with my dad, the longer I figured out my mother just wasn't like on a flight home. So that did happen during that time period. Whatever my mother had pumped her sister and niece up full of after the injury occurred and my mom was in California, she sent them to the hospital to scream her delusions at me and cause problems. And whatever she had told them about me was never real. Long term, those two have been told many delusions about me over the course of my life. Those are two of the biggest flying monkeys that she has, supporting her false narrative, backing up everything she's saying about me to be real. When they don't have direct contact with me, they have not for many decades, and they don't directly know anything about me either. Their information about me has always come from my mother's mouth. So none of that's real either. So I will do a separate video on the two of them alone because of the length of time they've been involved in helping reinforce this false narrative about me. When they have no role in my life, they don't know anything about the real me. They only know this false version of me with all the delusions. So that'll be its own video. I'll branch off and I'll talk about that separately. But when my dad had the injury, there was a huge issue with all of that. I don't believe I've seen any of them since that day. They were not regularly at my dad's room for the 15 months the first 15 months that I was there. They were not there. So I do believe that was the reason for their behavior toward me. That must have been what they were told. But I do know it's been told to numerous family members. I just don't know exactly how long this delusion about me has been going on. Again, I don't have time for that bullshit. I don't waste time doing this, that, and the other thing, when I have very limited functioning and I'm living a modified life, chronically sick. I have many different things to address within every day. Been living in extreme chaos since the day of my injury, really since the 2013 escapade my mother created, but heavily since my injury. I've never gotten my life back in order and situated where things run and flow at a proper rate, at a more normalized pace, where there's not just extreme chaos upon extreme chaos upon extreme chaos. It's been that way since the day of my injury. So at this point, it's been almost 10 years. So at no time have I ever had any type of time on my hands to be doing anything like this. The entire narrative about me, whatever people believe about me, none of that's real. All of those people got their false information from the deranged lunatic making up the delusions and the false narrative. They all passed it amongst themselves. At no time would I ever be stopping anything I'm doing within any day and going to their house for anything unless there's a reason for it. I don't chase my tail backwards on wild goose chases over this or that or whatever she's saying and the person she's portraying me to be. It's just not a real person. That's not my real personality. So there's just numerous issues I have with all of this. I am aware that at least Brownstown Police Department has been told this about me, and then they operate on it as if that's real. And I'm almost positive this has been told to Flat Rock as well. And I do believe that for numerous reasons. So what these are false reports. These are false statements, false police phone calls, and asking for their services fraudulently, because everything out of her mouth has been delusions for decades, especially when it comes to me. So anything anybody's ever gotten their information about me, anybody's ever heard anything about me at any point in the last 20-some, 30-some years, none of that's ever been real. If you did not get the information from me directly, that's not real. That's a deranged lunatic who's been growing a false narrative all of this time. And she controls the flow of information with every single family member, every friend, every neighbor, every police department. She is the one controlling the narrative. None of these people ever speak directly to me. They 100% operate on whatever delusions they were told. So that is 100% bullshit. Just that alone, just this situation alone, she should be charged just for that situation alone. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. The amount of other crimes she has committed, I do believe I read a list in a different video a few months ago, where I think it's labeled the Flying Monkey video possibly, where I read the list of crimes that she's committed. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. She belongs behind bars immediately. That's just one of the crimes she's committed. You cannot call numerous police departments stating a bunch of bullshit about somebody that's not real, causing those police officers to act on that bullshit repeatedly for years on end. And then while that's going on, it destroys my life and stuff that I have going on in my life and creates additional problems in my life. When really there's been no contact, there's no anything going on. These are just delusional phone calls coming into these departments, and then they're operating on them, not even realizing there's no relationship between us, and anything she's saying has no merit. So the whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. I am aware that these delusions are still going on. I am aware it's probably spread throughout her hundreds of family members. But again, none of those family members know anything about the real me. They all got their information from her. So the fact that all these people believe all this, it's just absolutely absurd, because I'm going to continue to keep exposing everything that's been said about me, all the delusions, all the lies, all the crimes that have been committed against me, everything that's still ongoing, and I'm going to keep talking until arrests are made, and I'm not going to shut up. So that is where I'm at with things. I will be back with another one. Thanks. Bye.